Well, good evening, everybody. Here we are for
Hello.
another edition of Boo Bites on the Paranormal. I'll introduce you here in a couple minutes as we get a couple more people in here.
I wanted to do her
Yeah.
early hello so she can go start barking.
Yep. And now that the dogs know that we're live, they'll probably start fighting.
Yeah, like usual.
Happens
Bubba's on
every
this
week.
side getting me like, come on,
Yep,
get my
every week.
attention.
So, man, we got two. Let's maybe wait just a minute longer. So if everybody's in here,
I should share them, huh? Oops.
go ahead and act like this is our first show.
I know, right?
You're just so excited.
And my day's just been kind of off, and so we kind of got good news at work, and it's kind of like, kind of crazy, and so.
Yep, Jerry's in here. How's it going, Jerry? So do you go by Kris or Christy? I see you have Christy on your.
Yeah, it's you can call me Christy. There was already another Kris Sumner on Facebook, so I just went with Kris.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what? Today I'm going to try something. I'm going to do YouTube on one and see if I get comments on that one and do the book. We've never done that. That's just something I just thought of. ADHD just kicked in there for a minute.
I'm thinking out loud, live on the spot. So
Yeah.
everybody, just to let everybody know, we have Kris Sumner from Soul Sisters Paranormal on with us tonight. She also has a cool project that you guys started. How long ago did you actually start that? Like open it to the public?
We opened the jail in September of last year.
Okay, so
about
September
6-10
they opened
months.
in September they opened the historic Scott County Jail. You want to tell everybody where that's at and what the story is behind it, the backstory?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's located in Huntsville, Tennessee. And as you said, this is a project that Miranda Young from Ghost Biker Explorations, she and I started in September of last year. And it's located inside of a jail that was built in 1904. And it was in operation as a jail until 2008. And then afterwards, it really just sat vacant until last year when Miranda and I asked if we could help the town of Huntsville kind of give it new life. So we decided to open a museum, a historical museum, law enforcement appreciation, crime and punishment museum. But we also have it open as a paranormal research location. So we're getting paranormal investigators coming in, different research teams coming in to investigate. And it's really a great location. It's a tiny little footprint, but it has a big paranormal punch.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about it. We've got a lot of events coming up. Here in February, we're doing what we call the Crimes of Passion flashlight tour. So the general public can come in and take a flashlight tour. We also have public ghost hunts where you can investigate with Miranda and myself. And then we have private paranormal investigations as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Yep. And you guys did a bunch of stuff around Christmas time too, didn't you? With it?
We did. So it's really cool. Miranda is just a whiz at marketing and advertising. So we came up with some really cool ideas, had a ghost walk throughout the town of Huntsville. It's called the Ghost of Christmas Past Ghost Walk. So that was really fun. And different flashlight tours as well. So each month we're going to tailor our flashlight tours.
Yeah.
So, for example, like I said, this month, we've got the Crimes of Passion because it's, February for Valentine's.
Yep.
And so we really highlighted crimes that were committed because of a passion for something, whether it was passion for love or money or jealousy or something like that. So every month is themed. So it's a lot of fun.
Are you going to do a leprechaun theme for March?
No, we've got something else for March. It's
Oh,
going to
okay.
be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Good deal. Do you want to announce it or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I want Miranda's she needs to get ahead of it a little bit on the marketing and stuff.
Yep.
And then we'll make a big blast, but it's going to be great.
That's cool. And you said, and it's, as you mentioned too, it's not only open for paranormal stuff, it's also open during the day for, the history of the jail.
It really is because that's what we really wanted to do. Both Miranda and I have a passion for history and historic preservation. So, our goal going into this was really for the sense of preserving the building. There was nothing going on here. In fact, it was probably going to be demolished if nothing was going to happen with it. And so to come in here and really kind of give it new life, like I said, was really our goal. And so we've got artifacts, we've got newspaper articles, we've got a really cool audio tour that you can take when you come in. And so you can spend probably about an hour and a half here. We've got a great gift shop. So that's for the general day tours. And then, like I said, we have a bunch of after dark events as well.
Yep. Yeah, we had there's like a lot of the buildings up here tend to, like, once they are available, I guess they tend to like not have power and plumbing and things like that. So it sounds like you guys lucked out that it was in operation as long as it was, and the wiring is all still good and all that stuff. Because the sixth precinct up in Detroit,
Mhm.
you know, they had issues with getting permits and things like that to do tours because, you know, of the building codes and, you know, the power and the handicap access and all that stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, this jail was in operation. The inmates were actually removed around 2005,
okay.
but they maintained dispatch here for
Yep.
the county. So all the wiring was here, as you said.
Yeah.
The plumbing was here. So the infrastructure was really
Yep.
here. In 2017, the town of Huntsville got a grant to come in and really kind of help it along. So new windows were
Cool.
put in place, an air conditioning and a heating system were put in place, and new paint was applied as
Good.
well. So it really is a great building, but
Yeah.
a lot of it was I mean, it still remains as it
Mhm.
was in 2008. So
Yeah. Yep.
it's a great little building. We love it.
Yep. Yeah. We've got, have you ever heard of the Commodore Perry up here in Toledo?
I have actually.
Okay. So they've got I think it's the third floor, fourth floor, and fifth floor is like a time capsule, and the basement.
Oh, cool.
Like it's just like they just left.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, and I would love to see somebody restore that because, you know, there's hand painted murals that are 30-foot tall, and you know what I'm saying? And
That's
and
awesome.
all of the like the ceiling has got these square grids and they're all hand painted murals, and you know, the woodwork and the marble, and I mean it's just, but it's just it's sad to see that it's going. I can't believe Toledo can't get some kind of grant or something like that, like kind of like Huntsville did with the, because that, you know, that's a lot of these older buildings, just like you said, they get demolished because no one has the money to put into them.
Exactly. And, you know, just really, you really have to have the desire to save it as well. And I think that's what Miranda and I excel at, honestly, is that historic preservation. So it really was just a great collaboration that we were able to come together on this. So what we did is we formed a company called History Highways and Haunts LLC, and we basically operate out of the jail here. So it was really a great combination. First, you know, we're best friends, but to be able to put together, you know, her marketing and professionalism and advertising with my business and professionalism as well, it really just was a great partnership to start this.
Is the plan in the future to maybe get more buildings? I mean, obviously this one has to sustain itself and all that other stuff, but to get more buildings and do more restoration?
We would love to do that. Also, you know, we really want to be able to highlight the fact that we can, if you have a building, say in Toledo, right, that needs to be preserved and you want to put forth an effort to preserve that, we want to help you do that. So we can put together a marketing plan, an advertising plan, a business plan, and kind of help you work through that. So essentially consult with you on how to preserve that building because, you know, we feel that we have the knowledge and the know-how to do that.
So it's not just the jail is not the only business. You guys have like side businesses going on. That's good. That's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now that is our main staple and our main goal because we do want to, you know, obviously get this to sustain itself. But I think, like I said, I think with our know-how and business sense and savvy, we can really help others preserve this as well.
Yep. So getting back to the Scott County Jail, has any famous inmates ever been incarcerated there?
Well, famous to the county, we had an inmate by the name of Jerome Boyett. He was here in 1933, and he was more infamous than famous. And he was infamous for the fact that he was actually taken out of here by a mob and lynched nearby. The county knows him as the infamous inmate. But reports are that we had Ernest Tubbs, the country singer, in here for a night. He had a little bit too much to drink one night while he was performing a show nearby. So they brought him in here, and somebody actually gave him a guitar. And by all accounts, he had a concert in here for the inmates. So that going through the research, and we're still finding a lot of stories out, but going through the research, that's the most famous person we found.
Yeah. Did you guys find like any old historic prison records and things like that? Was all that left in the building too, or?
There were some things that were left in the building, like I'm actually sitting in it now. So if you look behind me, those are all missing persons posters and wanted posters that were here from 2008 when the jail closed. And we found, actually one of the interesting things that we found was found by Miranda when we were actually cleaning. She found a razor blade that had been taped under the lip of an apparatus up in the kitchen. Kind of like contraband there.
Yeah.
So there were some things that we found, but we've also, through our research with the Historical Society and through some of our patrons, we've gotten some very interesting artifacts that were related to the jail, handcuffs, shanks, shivs, newspaper articles. We've got a large collection of newspapers that we're still going through, dating back to the 1950s. So that's a really big marquee piece of our displays.
Yeah, Ed Steele, when he was doing that 6th precinct, he found a lot of, like, all of the handwritten logs, and things like that. And he also found they had this big, like the central dispatch desk or whatever, the big main
wood,
desk.
Yeah.
They pulled it out, and he was wondering, because they found all these cards stuffed behind there. And they're like, this guy, his warrant was probably never served because his paperwork fell in the crack, like literally.
Literally found behind the cracks. Yeah.
So they found all kinds of stuff like that.
But even when you went through, it's like in certain parts of the area, like you could see like the old newspapers like stuck in the wall and everything. I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah,
the targets in the target room where there was all shredded targets that were crammed into places.
It was crazy.
Awesome. Yeah, this board behind me here, that was the inmate board. So they would put their names on the little slats, and they would insert it so they knew which cell each of the inmates were in. So just different little things like that. We've got the original jail keys and such, so that's pretty cool.
Oh wow.
How many cells are in there?
All told, there are 3 trustee cells. So they're larger open cells. They're on the 2nd floor. They were designed to hold 8 inmates. In times of overcrowding, they held anywhere between 12 and 15 inmates. And then on the top floor, there is, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cells up there. So, and those are the typical, bars and all of that. So that was maximum security. And those were added in 1922.
Okay. That's cool. So, Janet made a comment. She says, I wonder how many of those cases on the board behind you were never solved.
Janet, we've actually looked at some of those. Miranda and I sat here and kind of Googled some of them, and there are several that are still unsolved. We've got a missing person case of a woman who went missing in Panama City, and she just kind of walked off. You see security cameras of her walking out of her hotel room with just shorts and a t-shirt on, no shoes, no purse, nothing. And she just kind of walked into oblivion. Nobody knows where she's at. Oh, wow. And so that one's still unsolved. And there's some interesting wanted posters back there as well. So it's just encased in that cork board is kind of a historical snapshot.
What is the coolest thing that you or Miranda found when you guys were like going through there, just look, I'm assuming you guys walk around there a lot just looking for stuff. I mean, what's the coolest thing you ever found?
You mean like a physical item?
Yeah, just historic or.
Well, probably that the most interesting thing was that that taped razor blade, honestly, because it was literally it was under the lip of a dumbwaiter system that used to be used to take the food from the 1st floor kitchen to the 2nd and the 3rd. And Miranda just actually happened to hit it with the wand of her shop vac. And here comes the razor blade. Now, the interesting thing about the razor blade is I haven't seen it. So when she found it, we had a table upstairs where we had all of our cleaning supplies. And so when she found it, she called me and said, hey, you're not going to believe what I found. This razor blade was taped up underneath this lip. And I said, well, just set it on our table up there. And I want to see it when I come back in. So I came in the next day and she and I walked upstairs and I said, well, where is it? She's like, it was right here. I said, well, it's gone now. And she and I are the only two that have the keys to the building. And so the razor blade is missing. I have yet to see the razor blade. So
did you go back and check?
We've looked. Listen, we have cleaned this building so many times. The razor blade is gone. What's also missing is a pair of red-handled scissors that we bought from Ace. We used them for about 2 days. We set them on the same table. We came back in the 3rd day and they're completely gone.
Somebody's hiding them on you.
Exactly.
You should try it again and point a DVR camera at that or something like that.
Listen, we have things missing here all the time. And I never would have really thought about it much. I knew, other location owners say, things go missing. And it's one of those things that people say that, but things have gone missing here.
It's all contraband.
Well, there's one that's really interesting. It's a piece of glass from a picture frame, an 8x10 piece of glass. So we bought all of these picture frames to hang all of these articles and such. And so we had an assembly line. So I took out the backing and the little picture that comes with the generic thing.
Yep.
So I opened it up, I took off the thing, I took out the glass, and we set it there. So we had a stack. And so when we bought them all, obviously all of them had glass. We got down to the last one, and the only thing that was there was the frame. So we have no idea where the glass is.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
and that's obviously some, if it just fell over, I mean, you guys would have been picking up glass pieces. That's odd.
Yeah, no, it was, so things like that happen here. Like I said, it's a location that has a very big paranormal punch. Even during the day, we'll just be sitting here and we'll hear footsteps up above. About 15 minutes before I logged on here, somebody coughed in the back room and went, and I'm the only person here.
Is it overall, like, I don't want to say dark entities, but I mean, is it, say, nastier spirits, or is it just playful? Is it?
It honestly, I think because the jail was closed for so long, they really just want to be heard. We have never, and Miranda and I are in here all the time, so sometimes 16 hours a day by ourselves, and we've never felt anything malicious. We've never felt anything threatening. They really just want somebody to talk to, I think. And the interesting thing about it is, before the jail even closed, while it was in operation, there were reports of it being haunted. So when we got the jail and we were, kind of looking for stories and such, we had deputies, sworn law enforcement officers, contacting us. They would email and say, listen, I don't believe in this stuff, but when I worked there, the elevator would run on its own. When I worked there, there was footsteps on the back stairs to the point where we thought inmates were trying to escape, and we would do an emergency head count. There was one jailer that actually told us a story of being up on the 3rd floor and being chased downstairs by a shadow figure. So a lot of stories actually come from when it was in operation, which is pretty compelling.
Isn't it funny though? They say, I don't believe in this stuff, but and they tell you this stuff. It's like, well, if you don't believe in it, then why are you telling us this stuff? Because something's there.
When you're a paranormal investigator, you kind of get that. You tell somebody you're a paranormal investigator, and they either look at you like you have 3 heads, or they want to tell you their ghost story. And most of the time, it's the latter. Most people just want to be believed, and to find somebody who's kind of a safe space to share that story. That's what most people want, because I think a lot of people have stories that they just don't share with in mixed company, right? They want somebody to kind of believe them.
Well, I did one of the documentaries that I'm working on is it was a Togs case, Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunter Society, and I'm doing a film for them. But the owners, it was featured on, what show was that? It was one of the Discovery shows. Crap. Anyway, one of those where they'll do like 2 stories all reenacted, whatever. But so their story was on one of those shows, and it was horrible. Like this house is so haunted and interesting. Why are you making things up and putting stupid crap out there? But that's the thing that they said too, is that they just want their story out there, and they want people to believe them, and they also want other people to know too that, like, because it was a bad story. Like it ruined their marriage. That stuff. So, and people were hurt, attacked, mentally, physically, everything. So I mean, but they want other people to know that happens, and that you're not crazy when it happens. There it is.
Right.
Paranormal.
It's that Paranormal Survivor show.
Okay.
But I interviewed her recently, and she's like, it's just so good to have to be allowed to tell my story instead of, Paranormal Survivor was coaching her on what they wanted her to say.
Of course.
Well,
of course. I mean, you've got to understand that those shows are for sensationalism, right? They're going to tell the story. Yeah. They're going to tell the story, the narrative that they want portrayed. Be damned if it's the truth or not.
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, the truth is so much more interesting than what they put out. So I don't even understand.
It is. It is. I was actually talking to somebody about the jail, and they said something about the he's not a paranormal investigator. Who's somebody that I met. Actually, he's going to do the blinds at my house, and he said, what you can do is get little strings and stuff and make people really believe it's there. And I said, I don't have to do that.
Yeah,
I don't have to do that. Right. I've got EVPs. I've got a team that had videotaped a picture flying off the wall. So we don't need to do anything like that. No. And I think that's where TV shows have really done a disservice to what we do.
And not to mention, if you were to ever get caught doing something like that,
absolutely.
Every piece of legitimate evidence from that jail is garbage now. I mean,
you're absolutely right.
It's all going to be questioned.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, there's no, especially here, like I said, it's one of those places that, you hear the stories of it being haunted but to be here and live in it and breathe it
Yep.
and work in it every day, there are just so many things that we just can't explain.
Right. And you guys are actually doing some experiments there too, aren't you? Like
We
some
are.
kind of like more scientific experiments. You want to talk about any of those?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the things that Miranda and I really pride ourselves on is that historical, but also paranormal research aspect of what we do. And so we wanted something that was different and unique. And so what we came up with, and this was the help of one of our patrons. So we had a gentleman who was a detective here. He worked in the jail. And so we kind of sat down and we were talking to him. And so what we came up with was he has an item related to a case that has a relation to the jail and a murder. And so we have no idea what that item is. He's the only person who knows what that item is, and he put it in a container. And so what we're having people do is when they come into a paranormal investigation, they can investigate this item. And by that I mean you can sit with it and ask questions. You can use dowsing rods, spirit box, EDI box, whatever you want to do, but you can't film it. There's no filming of it and there's no audio recording of it because we want to eliminate as much bias as we can. So we actually have you sign a non-disclosure that you're not going to talk about it outside of the jail walls. And so you can sit with this, and the hope is that the spirits in the jail will communicate with us and tell us what's in this box or what's in this container. And so then at the end of this study, which we're going to have it run for a couple of months, we're asking the teams to essentially write down anything that they heard, felt, sensed, smelled, saw, whatever. They put it in a sealed envelope. They date it and sign it, and then they put it in a lockbox that will not be opened until we sit down with the detective at the end of the study. And so what we're trying to determine is if anybody can come up with any idea or any answers as to anything in that box. So it's really cool. It's different than anything we've ever heard before.
Yeah.
And we know down in Bowling Green at the main school, Kelly and Don, they do something similar. They Don has wrote something down in an envelope, and so if somebody comes to him and says, "Hey, this is written down," and that he'll reveal it, but he's the only one that knows what's in that envelope, and so apparently nobody has hit it yet. But same thing when the spirits will find one day, one of those spirits might tell somebody what he wrote down in there. So
and Kelly doesn't know what it is either, and I think they're going to use her to be the one to determine, because Don doesn't want to be influenced by what the phrase or word is.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kelly is the one that's going to listen and say, yes, it's saying, witches or whatever, and then if the team gets the word right, they get a free, I think they get a free investigation or something like that. So.
Okay. Well, we don't have any, anything of value or monetary or anything tied to this. So we just don't do that. But this, like I said, this one's very interesting because Miranda and I don't even know. The only person who knows what the contents of the item is the detective. And, the fact that it's an actual item that is from a case that he worked is really kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, like I said, I think the teams that we know have investigated it, they're having a ball doing it. They don't tell us anything. The only way it's communicated is through this through writing it down and putting in the envelope. So we tell them, you don't talk to us about it because we don't want to be influenced, and you can't talk to anybody else outside of this. And again, you can't film it or record it in any way.
Do you allow mediums to participate?
Yeah, absolutely. So mediums can come in, and we also have it set up where you don't even need to be a team to investigate it. So if you want to come in and you're a medium or a psychic, or you're just a team of one or whatever, you can have a mini session. So you can sit down with it for an hour or 2 hours or whatever you want to do, and we'll custom that for you. Again, you'll follow the same rules as a team, but you don't have to be on a team to participate in this.
That's cool.
Is
it related to the item in there? Was it a solved case? Like was the person an inmate in that jail, or was it an unsolved?
Honestly, he hasn't even told us. So the only thing that we know, the only thing that he will reveal is that it is related to a case. It's related to the jail and a murder.
Okay.
That's it.
So when you guys finally get this done, you guys are going to make a big like thing on it and have it on Facebook, right?
We hope so. Yeah, we hope so. And
I'm
it's, like I
curious
said,
now
and,
because
it's
cool.
interesting because it's really shows the fact that the teams that are coming here really want to participate in a true research study, right? So everybody's been excited about it. They've really adhered to the rules and such, and so that is really amazing to me in and of itself, right? So you don't have people going out and talking about it or anything like that. They're really adhering to the rules of it, and I think that's really commendable that we have that.
There's a lot of so here in Toledo, there's not a whole lot of places that like you guys are blessed that you had, like, you can go there anytime you want. You could run any kind of experiment that your brain comes up with.
Right.
And we don't I would love to have a place like that because there's a lot of people that I know that have some pretty good ideas on ways to do some scientific experimentation with, paranormal stuff. And there's just, it's hard to book a location for a night and go, you know what I mean? Cause an experiment, you got to do more than once typically. So it's, so it's cool that you guys have that available.
So it's interesting, and we're having a great time with it, and just the jail in general, right? It's just one of those places that you just kind of fall in love with it when you're here and really immersed in it.
So what else? I mean, do you want to go over pricing to get in there, or I mean, it's all on your website stuff. What does it cost to do a night there?
It's $375 per team, and we will allow up to 10. We highly encourage smaller groups simply because there is that noise factor in here. So teams of 6 are perfect. Teams of 8, pushing it a little bit. But it's $375 a night, and you get the jail from 8:30 till 3 a.m.
That's, I mean, assuming down there too, but I mean up here, that's very, very reasonable. I mean, there's
we think so.
Places getting a lot more, and I don't know that. I know, shoot, what's his name? God, Austin Menard. Do you know who he is? Okay, I thought he did stuff with Miranda.
He may do stuff with Miranda.
Okay, but anyway, they have about 4 or 5 locations up here that they'll sell packages and things like that. But I mean, that's kind of the price point that they're at for all theirs. They got a couple schools.
Fun.
I don't think they have any jails.
No, it's mostly schools.
Okay. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, to have it, to be running a jail, that's got to be great.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's very interesting. Like I said, it's one of those things that you just kind of fall in love with when you really get in here and immersed in it.
So what kind of stuff are people reporting happens there? I mean, yourself included.
Well, like I said, we've had EVPs. There's pretty much all day, any day, you can hear something. Like I said, I just heard somebody cough behind me about 15 minutes before we started. One of the interesting things that's happened that we actually captured on our security camera. So the way you get to the second and the third floors through a back stairwell, right? It's steel and concrete stairs. And so we had a paranormal investigation team here one night, and one of us always has to stay on site per our lease. We've got one of us has to be here, but we stay in an office, so we're here, but we're out of sight. And so after the paranormal team had left, Miranda was locking up. She was here by herself. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and so the team had left. And so she was walking. So directly across the hallway here is our gift shop where she stays.
Okay.
And so she was walking from the gift shop into this room. And so as she's walking, she hears a man on the back stairwell humming. She said it's a very rich, deep hum. It goes on for about 8 seconds, clears its throat, and continues humming. And so obviously that's a long time in paranormal time, right? And so it takes a lot to startle Miranda. So, but you see her, so we have a security camera in our gift shop. And so you see her walking back into the room, like she's doing like this. And so as she's walking and she's getting her stuff together, we captured 2 voices on that security camera. The first one said, "There she is." The second one said, "Not so loud next time." And so, I mean, it's clear as day. It's right there. And so it's kind of like the one person is saying, "Well, there she is." And the second one is like, "Well, don't hum so loud next time because she heard you." So that was pretty cool. There's several times where we'll be just we want to stay at night, and we'll say, "Yeah, you want to go up and do an EVP session at 11 o'clock at night or whatever." So, so we went up there a couple times. We've captured voices. There was a team here, RKB Paranormal. There was 2 guys on that team. They're both corrections officers, or they work in corrections in some capacity. Okay. And so they were telling, kind of saying words and terms related to a jail. And they thought they heard a woman on the second floor. So they grabbed their camera to kind of pan around the second floor.
Yeah.
And as they're doing that, a picture flies off the wall. It literally, it doesn't fall down. It looks like something grabs it from the top left corner and flips it, because it flips in the air and lands about 4.5 feet down the wall. And when they slowed it down to about 10% of the speed, you see an arm actually pushing it off the wall. It's pretty wild.
Yep.
So, and to Miranda's point, we've seen shadow figures on all 3 floors. There'll be times where we'll just like see something. And we actually had a woman here 2 weekends ago, a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. And she's not a paranormal investigator. She was just here on one of our flashlight tours. Yeah. And we tell them, when you're on the flashlight tour, always take 3 pictures. Boom, boom, boom. So we have a succession. Yeah. And so she takes 2 pictures of our drunk tank. She takes 2 pictures, and on the third one, she captures a great shadow figure. So that was pretty wild. So that's on our Facebook page as well. So you can take a look at that if you want to. So things like that happen here all the time. Doors slamming, or we'll come in and a door would have been open when we left and it's closed when we come back in. Again, Miranda and I are the only 2 people that have the keys to this building. And so stuff like that happens all the time.
Do you guys have any confirmed like evidence or EVPs or anything like that of inmates that you guys know were there? Like, I mean, is there anybody, set a name or something like that to where it's an inmate that is, still there?
Interestingly enough, we had a team here that was in our main museum room across the hall, and they captured an EVP. They captured a word 3 times on their spirit box, and it was the word anvil. And that's not a typical word, right? So it said anvil, anvil, anvil. So they came out and they asked Miranda, what's the significance with anvil? And so coincidentally, that day, we have an author that wrote a book about the Jerome Boyett lynching that happened here in 1933. And it's a true story written from the mindset of a fictional character, right? So this fictional character is telling this true story. Yeah. So the fictional character that's telling the story, he goes by the name of Anvil Clemens. And so we had just gotten a copy of the book that morning. And so when they captured the name Anvil, Miranda's like, I don't know what that significance is, but let me talk to this author. So when she talked to the author of the book, he was stunned. And the reason he was stunned was that he got the name Anvil because when the mob came in to take Jerome Boyett out in 1933, they beat the jailer. And they beat him so badly that somebody said, we beat him like an anvil. And his nickname became Anvil. Yeah. And so that was extremely telling that investigator, because we never knew that story. We never knew the history behind that. And it never would have come to light unless that team had gotten that word. So that's kind of the stuff that happens here. It's almost like the spirits are telling us different things. So that's kind of an interesting example of what you're asking.
Right. Have you guys ever reached out to any of the, I know we all kind of dog on TV shows. I do too, but have you guys ever reached out to like Destination Fear or, Jack Osborne or anybody like that to try and get them to investigate your location?
No, honestly, we've just had a great time with the teams that have come. If they want to investigate, by all means, they're more than welcome. But, we feel that we've got a great clientele so far in the teams that have been here.
That's kind of a side note. So as a paranormal investigator, I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but like, what's your opinion of the TV shows? Have they helped what we're doing, or have they hurt it, or is it just kind of indifferent?
I think it's a double-edged sword, honestly. I think the TV shows have done a great job of allowing the general public to know that we exist and that we do paranormal investigations. The disservice comes when it really puts a preconceived notion in the audience minds. Yep. And by that, I mean, we'll have somebody say, oh, well, if you don't have a video out in 30 seconds after your investigation, then, what's the point, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of instant gratification. Yep. They don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that shows are really there again for that sensationalism. And so they've got a production team, right? They've got a crew of people that work there. So for example, when we investigated Fort Mifflin in Philadelphia, we were there for 12 hours. TAPS had investigated there a couple months prior. They were there for a week. And so they filmed, and the docent was telling us, great people, but they have to wear the same clothes for a week for the continuity purposes and all that. And we just can't do that. And so it's a little bit different, obviously, the TV shows than what we actually do.
Yeah. And the TV shows too, I think, have done a disservice they've done a few, but like in the fact that like they everything, like, and even I suckered into it with asking one of the questions that I asked you earlier about dark entities. It's TV shows. If it's not dark, it's not haunted, and no one wants to watch it. So, and I think subconsciously that's why I asked you that question, because I assume because it's a jail that there's some bad, mean stuff there, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And I think a lot of that comes from the TV shows. If it's not demonic, it's boring.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But it is funny because I used to not be very, I mean, everything. But now since I've watched more and more of those shows, I am so much more skeptical about everything than I used to be. So here I am, a sensitive, and I am like the biggest skeptic probably now. And it's like, yeah.
And it's like you said too, they've got the production crew and all that other stuff there. So it better be haunted.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
And it better be entertainingly haunted.
Exactly.
So,
and I think, back to your point, Dana, so what we do as Soul Sisters Paranormal, we're the same way. We go in with a healthy skepticism at every location that we investigate. And we do a day tour beforehand to look for environmental factors that could explain a quote unquote haunting. Yeah. So for us, it is a very meticulous and methodical method on how we investigate. And I think that's lacking in the television shows, right? Yeah. They're just going in, boom, let's do the scare factor. And I think, you've also got to realize that there's also a difference in what in our community of what we do is I think that there's those true paranormal investigators, those that are in it for the research and in it for the history and in it for the study and the preservation. And then you've got ghost hunters who are, I would categorize those as people that want to go in, they believe that something's going on, but they really have no connection to the historical component. They just want to go in and investigate a cool location. And then the third group I'd say would be those that are YouTubers or bloggers or TikTokers that have zero connection. They just want to go in to get the followers, to get the the views, and then they're out, right? They don't even give it a second thought. They plunk down their money, they go in, boom, 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 a door moved, a shadow figure, and they're out. And so I think also you've got to realize that there's just within our community, you've got those three categories as well.
It's interesting too, because they don't show the side of how much, like, I will admit I'm not one of those that does a lot of listening and watching of the videos. Jeff does that mostly, but he'll call me. He'll be the one that sits here for hours. I'm not, but he'll call me in to listen to something. And I'll be like, yeah, it's something. It's not right. But they don't show you on the TV shows. They don't show you how many hours to get that one 30-second clip. How many hours of footage or video, audio that they had to do just to get that 30-second clip. It could have been like 4 days for that one 30-second clip.
There was a I'm sorry. I thought
so I mean, it sucks because people think, because people ask me all the time, well, when they know we're going somewhere, oh, what'd you get? It's like, we have to look and listen to all that first. And they're like, well, how long does that take? It's like
months.
It will be a while. I said, plus with him doing other, it's like, it takes a while. And they're like, well, that kind of sucks. It's like, no, because if we know that we think we caught something, we'll go right away and just try to get that. But we don't have time to sit there like right afterwards. We don't have 12 hours right after we come home from one to just sit down and go, we'll find something.
And some of these YouTubers, there was an ad on a paranormal page on Facebook for like the Toledo area, and the guy was looking to start a team, and the only thing he said is how many followers he had on YouTube. Like it said nothing about he's looking to start a ghost hunting team, but that's all he talked about. Didn't talk about the paranormal study at all or anything like that. So you guys go ahead.
I'm sorry. And I think again that is that disservice factor that's caused by the popular media.
Yep. And there again too, it's like, especially from like the YouTubers too, like you better get something, or you're not going to have viewers. You're not going to have
Mhm.
followers. So, you're going to actually, half the time they don't even see anything or hear anything or capture anything. They scare themselves just to make a big deal out of nothing, just to get people to watch. So
Right.
anyway, let's see what's Miranda saying. Many times I've heard from friends that own locations featured on TV shows, and they say a lot of the time they don't even feature. Yeah. They don't even feature the best evidence.
Well, we've had that. I
Yep,
mean,
that was Paranormal Survivor. They didn't tell the best story.
yeah, because I mean, we know that for a fact. That's like the stuff that they actually should have been showing. They didn't even show. It was like,
yeah, because if you get a great piece of evidence for a TV show, but if it's not filmed right, they're not going to put it in.
Yeah.
So you are you the founder of Soul Sisters Paranormal, co-founder, or?
I am. So Soul Sisters Paranormal was founded by myself and my twin sister Jenny, and we started in 2014, and we were joined by our younger sister Michelle. So we're actually sisters. And then our best friend Cara and a friend of ours, Kim. And so there was 5 female investigators, and we went to some of the most haunted locations in the country. So Villisca Axe Murder House, Lizzie Borden House, Fort Mifflin, the Exchange Hotel. And so really in 2020, at the end of 2020, it really started to become a 2 investigator format with myself and my twin sister, Jenny. And that was really for logistical purposes because Cara moved to Denver. Michelle got a promotion. Kim had a grandbaby. So just life factors really just kind of let us go to a 2 investigator format. And so that's been very interesting with just Jenny and myself. But, the others will join us as time permits and their schedules permit. But it's been a great ride so far. We've had a lot of interesting experiences, have visited some amazing historical locations. So we're really excited about this next chapter coming up this year.
Do you guys do private cases too, or is it all public stuff?
We do. We have again. It has to be based logistically feasible for us. For example, we had somebody from Haiti email us and said, "Can you please come to Haiti to investigate?" And we just can't do that. So yes, to your question, to your question, we do take businesses and residential cases. Lately here, like I said, it's been a lot of commercial locations, but we do the others as well.
So what are some of the? And actually, I gotta take my little break that I always take during the show. But when I come back from that, I want to hear about the Ma Barker house.
Okay.
Because you kind of ran that house or something, right? For a while,
I was a docent there for several months. Yep.
Okay. But tell us while I get up. Tell Dana another story about something else that the Soul Sisters have. Maybe one of the coolest cases that you guys have done. And I will be right back.
Well, I mean, the Ma Barker case was extremely interesting for us.
That was that one yet.
I will. So that was, that was really one that we were really proud of. I'd say, we've done Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary a couple of times. Lizzie Borden House, that was fascinating. The Villisca Axe Murder House was great. Really, the places that we've gone to, just for the historical significance, have all been incredible. Even if we don't find anything that we consider paranormal or unexplainable, just to be able to say that you stayed the night in the St. Augustine Lighthouse or Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary or, the Villisca Axe Murder House, those are just great experiences that a lot of people don't get to partake in. And we're very fortunate that we can do this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it is because even my daughter, my kids are not big into the paranormal stuff, but my daughter, she actually went to I want to say it was Kansas City, maybe Kansas. I can't remember. She went down just for a conference, and the house that she stayed in actually, and it was weird because she was drawn to this one room. And they asked her, well, which room do you want to sleep in? And they gave them the choices, and she picked this room. And that room, Martin Luther King had slept in that room.
Oh, wow.
And so she said it was kind of really cool then, because then it was just like kind of creeped her a little bit. But then to think like, hey, I know I slept in the same room as this guy. That's kind of
awesome.
cool. Yeah. And so I think like the history thing, to tie anything history into it, I think sometimes to even see if you can tie anything, when you're investigating into that history part, just like I said, like we were talking before, I think most of us that are into paranormal, a lot of us like the history part of it just as much as finding something to tie in with it. So
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's what we really pride ourselves on is giving that historical narrative, because that is just as important as the paranormal or the
Yeah.
unexplainable that we find during those investigations. And that's
Yep.
another reason why from investigation to video production takes such a long time,
Yeah.
because we want to put forth that effort into getting the historical narrative correct. And I also
Yeah.
think, because it doesn't have that instant gratification factor that we talked about, we don't get the quote unquote large followings, but that's really not what our goal is. If we can highlight these locations and maybe help preserve them in some way, that's really what we feel compelled to do.
And that's what is happening with us, because Jeff is working on something. We thought it was going to be this really easy, but once we started looking into it, we have opened up so many wormholes that now we have more wormholes to go down. And I help them with them and like investigating it. I'll like doing all the research and that. When I started researching, I started finding more wormholes. And so now we've gotten so many, we can't even try. It's going to take us longer than we thought for him to ever get through all the stuff that he needs for this. But
yeah, it was a mafia story, and Toledo, that centers around Toledo gambling, which Toledo was huge back in the day. I mean, like for gambling and bootlegging and stuff, because it was right on Lake Erie and Canada was there. And so, you start looking into one guy, and then you're into 3 or 4 other guys. Then you're into the guys under it, and it's like, but they're all tied to this actual haunted location that we investigated.
I think we're
awesome.
It's really, and we've actually gotten some EVPs that
prove it.
That
oh, very cool.
I got to be careful on what I say, because I don't want people
they have
beating
some
this guy's door
proven.
down.
I mean, they have some proven things that like with it like coincides with what history stuff we're catching up with. But now it's brought us to other locations outside of that one location. Now we have, I think, 3 locations, 2 or 3
we
locations
might get to go into
that we might get. Yeah. So it's just been
awesome.
The guy had a custom house built in Toledo by a former mayor.
Oh, wow.
And it's got, so we know somebody that knows the owners of it. So we might get to go in there, and they have a room set up for this guy, like a tribute room, but all the walls are lead lined.
Yeah.
There's a button that closes all the doors at once, the upstairs, and they're reinforced doors. There were safes in the basement that were too large to get out, like hidden rooms.
There's hidden rooms.
It's like, God, I got to see this.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So we're
yeah,
still
congrats.
hoping. COVID kind of put a on that one, so we're hoping that soon we'll be able to finally get in there.
We were setting up to go in there, and then COVID hit, and so now that it's waning down a little bit, maybe we can work on that
we'll
again.
Be able to,
But what's
those files again?
Another question I had. So like, before we talked about the Mom Barker, so have you ever had any really bad experiences, any dangerous experiences, anything follow you home, because a lot of investigators do have at least 1 or 2 stories about some really nasty, oops, I shouldn't have done that, that kind of thing.
Yeah, honestly, we don't. And I think the reason that I can say that is because we go in with kind of a different mindset. I think, first of all, we're an all-female team. And second of all, we go in with what I call the right intentions. And by that, I mean, we go in and say, we're here to legitimately tell your story.
Yep.
We're not going to provoke you. We're not going to, disparage you in any way, or, tell you to throw a chair across the room and that will get us to believe you're here.
Yeah.
That's really not how we approach things.
Right.
And so there's been times where we've gone into a location, Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, for example, where we have felt something that is darker. And by that, I mean just something that really wasn't interested in us being there. In that instance, we put a voice recorder in the room or a video camera in the room and say, if you want to communicate with us, this is the way to do it. We're going to leave you to your space because we know that's your space. If you want to talk to us, we'll be out here. And we do set our boundaries. You're not allowed to touch us or harm us in any way unless we give you permission to touch us.
Right.
And I think because of that, we really haven't experienced anything like that. There's been times where I've felt more threatened by the living than the dead. Yeah. So, but for us, we've never felt anything like that. So it's been kind of fortunate, I guess.
And we had Miranda on a couple months ago and stuff too. And I mean, you guys both sound very professional, very, like upbeat, positive people. So, I mean, that probably makes a difference too, because there are a lot of teams that are full of like, I'm not saying this in a derogatory way, but like, depression people or, goth people or people that are into some weird dark shit, and it's
or people that go in with bravado, right?
Yeah.
This is what I do. I'm a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
I'm going to thump my chest, and
Yep.
here they come.
Yep.
And
Yep.
again, for us, it's going into these locations and experiencing the location because it's the location, right? To your point earlier, I've touched the doorknobs in the Lizzie Borden house, right? I've slept in the Grand Old Lady Hotel, in the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and that is my experience. And anything past that is unexplainable, that's just bonus.
Yeah.
And so, when you go in with that mindset, to me, I think it kind of puts the spirits at ease, right? We're coming into their space, into their house, telling them that we respect them and want to tell their story. And because of that, we haven't felt anything that has been threatening. And we've gotten some really cool, compelling evidence that we can't explain.
Yep. Yeah. And that we had a guest on last week that his quest was, and I like the conclusion that he came to, but his quest was to summon the Ouija board demon Zozo. That was his quest. Well, his life really got affected by that quest. And his conclusion in the end was, you know what? I kind of deserve it because that's what I was looking for.
Right. And when you go in with that mindset, when that narrow focus, that tunnel vision focus, absolutely. And it really just kind of, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
And and it's funny because then, kid you not, we started having stuff happen in the house like afterwards and like the next couple of days.
Odd.
And so, and I think he's been having stuff too, the guy that was on the show. So it's like, this is just crazy.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you're going to find what you're looking for. I mean,
absolutely. So for us, we go in with the mindset of this is an experience.
Yep.
If we capture something paranormal, fantastic. If we don't, that's fantastic too.
Yep. And I do that a lot too. Like when I do EVP sessions, it's like, tell me your story. I lead with that a lot because I do want to hear your story. Who's in here with us and why are you here? What happened to you? Legitimately tell me your story. And that's a cool way to approach it instead of going in and saying, did you just punch me? The Zach Baggins effect. And,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And we've actually done an investigation that we had someone do that they came in and they just were, and they didn't realize doing that. You could put other people in harm that don't want to be put in harm. And it's like, you got to treat them just respectfully. I mean,
and he wasn't an investigator.
No.
He was a son of
and we explained to him, but still it was like, watch those shows.
Yep.
So just figured that's what you did. And it's like, nope.
Exactly.
His history prep for that investigation was to watch one episode of Ghost Adventures and mimic Zach. Like, dude, just get out of here. Like,
and that I mean, I got like
that was a good location too. It was
a
century.
And but I literally every time he started doing that, they would come after me. I was getting my hair pulled. I was getting pushed. I was getting touched, and it was like, dude, stop. I'm like, okay, I don't want anymore.
So we got to talk about Ma Barker. That house.
I love the Ma Barker house. So, and what's interesting about that house is that it's in the county where I grew up. So, it was about 5 miles from my Nana and Granddaddy's house. So every time we would go past this house, my Nana or Granddaddy would say, that's where Ma Barker died and so on and so forth. So I've always been fascinated with the history behind this house. And so for those who don't know, the Ma Barker house was located in Ocklawaha, Florida. And it was the site of the 1935 shootout between 2 members of the Barker Karpus gang, Ma Barker and her son Fred Barker, and 12 members of the FBI. And so the gang was extremely prolific during the late 1920s, early 1930s. And in fact, they amassed more money as a gang than all of the other gangs combined during that time. So after they really got their foothold in bank robbery, they decided to escalate into kidnapping. So they kidnapped a guy by the name of William Ham in 1934. At the end of 1934, they got $100,000 ransom from him, and then they kidnapped Edward Brimmer in the summer of 1934 and got $200,000 ransom for him, and that really put J. Edgar Hoover on the tail of the gang. So Ma and Fred Barker, the gang split up, and Ma and Fred went down to this rental house in Ocklawaha, Florida. It was built by a guy by the name of Carson Bradford. And so they hid out in this house for a couple of months, and J. Edgar Hoover ended up tracking them down. And on the morning of January 16th, 1935, gunfire erupted, and Ma and Fred were killed in that gun battle. They were killed in the house. And so the interesting thing is that Carson Bradford had the presence of mind to preserve that house. So when you
Right.
go in now, there's bullet holes in the wall.
Oh,
the
wow.
furniture is original. So there's bullet holes in the furniture, the sconces, everything but the windows really is original to the house.
Yeah.
So in 2016, they decided to sell the house or sell the land that the house was on, and the new owner was going to demolish the house. So Marion County, Florida said, we will take the house, and they put it on a barge and they floated it across Lake Weir to another location about 4 miles away. So now it sits on about 40 acres of vacant land. There's no power to it. There's no water to it. You have to have a 4-wheel drive vehicle to get back to it.
Yeah.
So it's extremely preserved in the fact that there's no environmental factors surrounding it.
Right.
And so when we investigated there, I asked the county if we could be the first to investigate, and they allowed us to do so. And so when we went, I wanted to investigate on the anniversary of the shootout. So on the shootout happened on January 16th, the morning of January 16th, 1935. So we put stationary equipment in the house on the evening of January 15th, 83 years after the shootout, right?
Yeah.
So we locked the house up. I've got stationary cameras, voice recorders, and different things, trigger items in this house. We lock it up and we leave. So we have complete control of the environment. And so when we come back, we collect all of our stuff and we start going through all of that. And we were capturing voices. We captured a man's voice saying, "Get out." We captured chairs being dragged across the floor. We captured what sounded like a door being opened and closed.
Yeah.
And then in the room where Ma and Fred's body were found at about 5:30, which would have been the time the shootout started 83 years prior, we captured 2 voices. The first one said, "Freddie." The second one said, "Yeah, Ma." And the first one said, "Get ready." Which
Oh
I
my
think
God.
is which I think is a residual. Yeah, I think that's a residual
Yep.
haunting. I think that's actually what they said.
Mhm.
So after that, we, my sister and I, Jenny and I, decided that we wanted to go back. So about 2 weeks after that first investigation, she and I went back and stayed the night in the house.
Yeah.
And again, there's no power, there's no water, there's no other thing that's acting upon this house.
Right.
So we were getting some very interesting things on the spirit box. There was one instance where I said, "Is Alvin here?" And Alvin was another member of the gang. I said, "Is Alvin here?" And through the spirit box, it said Alvin Karpus, which was his last name. I never said the name Karpus. It just said Alvin
Yeah.
Karpus.
Right.
Very compelling. And then we went up to the room where Ma and Fred was found. And we had an amazing REM pod session, like on command.
Yeah.
It went on for about 20 minutes. And so through that, we were able to determine what we felt was Ma and Fred were in that room.
Yeah.
And then we tried the spirit box again. And I said, "What happened in this room?" And through the spirit box, it said, "They murdered us, we the ones dead." That whole phrase came through the spirit box,
Right.
which is pretty compelling when you think that this thing is going, every 1/8 of a second, it's got
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
channel up. So obviously, theoretically, that shouldn't happen.
No,
But
especially
to
in
be
a
able to-
place too with no power and out in the
Yeah.
boonies like.
And so to your point earlier, that is their story, right?
Yeah.
So even though they were, horrible people in life, their
Yes.
story is the FBI murdered us. We're the ones that are dead
Yep.
here because the FBI murdered us.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was extremely compelling. And that investigation, again, was one that was just so pristine in the fact that there was nothing else acting upon those. I can verify that there was nothing else acting upon those devices. And it was just a compelling investigation for us.
And to be able to walk into a house like that and touch the bullet holes and things like that would be just be. Is it still in pristine condition, being that there is no power and water there? I mean, how do they maintain the building now?
Well, they actually ran. They put up a tent pole, so they ran an electrical cord into a dehumidifier. So there is that.
Okay,
there
good,
was.
good.
They have put that in there. They have grand plans to actually restore the house the landscape as it was in 1935.
Okay.
And so, like I said, because of that investigation, I actually became a docent there for probably about 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah.
And it was great because I had the key, and I would go in the morning and say, "Hey, Ma, hey, Fred," and hear things, right?
Yeah.
Like you would hear
Yep.
different things at that time. So I really did fall in love with the house.
Yeah.
So they've got preservation efforts underway.
Good.
They want to build a interpretation center nearby and really kind of set it up as it was and how it looked in 1935.
Right.
That's cool.
Is there like, okay, so you guys got the jail and you said that there was a federal grant to restore that I'm assuming the city got, or did you guys get that?
The town of Huntsville applied for a tourism
Okay.
grant through the state of Tennessee.
Okay.
And so I think it's through it was the Chamber of Commerce. The woman that runs the Chamber of Commerce, Stacy Swan, she was the one that actually filled out the grant and applied for it. And
Okay.
basically it met, according to what I've heard, it met every criteria that they were looking for.
Yep.
So they
So
received $75,000 for it.
So is there a lot of funding available, through different means to like preserve historic buildings, and how do people go about finding that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there are grants for everything. In my previous life, I was in the world of academia. So,
Okay.
I've written grants before. So
Okay.
there's absolutely, you can actually go to Barnes and Noble and get a book about this thick of federal and state grants.
Okay.
And you just fill out the paperwork and fill out what their requirements are, and you can get a grant for anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to go out and find them and apply for them.
Because we do live, unfortunately, like in the United States, it's tear down and rebuild
Mhm.
rather than restore. And I get it. I'm a contractor. A lot of times you can't get the needs that you're looking for out of an old building because you'd have to really, really, it costs more to restore than it would be to knock it down and rebuild, with up to code electric and, plumbing and all that stuff. And, so, but it kills me every time I hear about buildings being torn down.
Yeah,
So-
no, the same here. But yeah, you can absolutely go down and find that book. I mean, if you don't want to buy it, the library will have it. It's a federal grant, and they also have state grants in there. And just Google it as well.
Yeah.
Now that we're obviously in the age of
Yeah.
the internet, what am I talking about? A library?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
go
No,
to
actually,
Google.
library
Yeah.
actually, it's
I'm just
better
teasing
than
you.
Google. You will not
Yeah,
find
I agree.
things
I love
on
libraries.
Google that
Listen,
you find at the library. At least
state
Toledo's got a
archives.
Yep,
Yeah.
Toledo's got a really good library system, and in the
Mhm.
downtown main branch, I mean, it's fantastic for research.
Mhm.
And that's, Don made the comment that Toledo is infamous for teardown. Yes, it's true. That case that I was telling you about, that the mafia stuff, I'm going to look for these old casinos, and most of them have been torn down. And it's
Yeah.
because they tear down and they build, an arena on the site. It's
Exactly.
I hate that. I mean, I get it. It is, Toledo needed the arena that we got downtown, but
No,
there
I
was
get
about
it.
3 or 4 casinos down there that, the old ones that were ran by the guy that I'm looking up. So,
Yeah. So no, if you want to go ahead and research that, there's
Yeah.
money out there.
yep, cool. Let's see. The jail has been on the National Historic Registry since the 70s. So yeah, that
Mhm.
helped too. Yep, for sure. Because, like I said too, there's definitely buildings downtown, and like I would love to see somebody restore the Commodore Perry in
Mhm.
Toledo.
Oh wow,
And-
yeah, that'd be awesome.
And they're very, very careful that they don't. We really, when I got to go in there, it was kind of on a fluke because they don't normally let people in there,
Uh-huh.
especially with cameras, because they don't. I don't think they want any attention to what is there, because then people would put the pressure on them to restore it,
Of course.
because
Yeah.
it could be gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
just, but I don't know. So anyway, is there anything else that you want to plug? Actually, so going back to the Ma Barker real quick, did you guys make a video out of that, or
Yes,
where's
we
that
did.
at?
Yep, you can watch it on our website at www.soulsistersparanormal.com. You could also go to our YouTube channel under Soul Sisters Paranormal, and just type in Ma Barker, and it's
Okay.
there. And it's
Yep.
it's actually one of our most watched videos. A lot of people
Cool.
are interested in
Yeah.
that location.
Yep, because I thought about when we were going to have you on, I was thinking, because you sent me that video of your top 10 kind of catches,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't know if people would want to watch that on a live show, but I was thinking about playing the whole video because there's some really good stuff on there.
Well, thank you for considering
Yep.
it. I appreciate it.
Yep,
But
so
yeah, yeah, it's on our YouTube channel and our website.
yeah, cool. Well, hey, is there anything else you want to plug? Obviously, the jail. I mean, do you guys have any upcoming events that are specific that you want to
It-
announce, or?
Well, as I said before, we've got a lot of stuff going on, and it's on a month by month theme basis. So this month we're continuing with our Crimes of Passion flashlight tour. You can also book a private paranormal investigation or a public ghost hunt if you want to ghost hunt with Soul Sisters Paranormal as well as Ghost Biker Explorations. Come on out. We'd love to have you. We can use some of our equipment, go through the jail with you, and see if we can communicate with our resident spirits here. So if you want to sign up for one of those, just go to our website at www.historicscottcojail.com. All of the information is there. You can reach out to us if you don't see a date that is available for booking. Contact us because we can arrange one for you. So that's really cool. And then we would love the support of Soul Sisters Paranormal. So if you want to go support our YouTube channel, please subscribe to that. Please visit our website. All of our videos are there. Where we're coming, our upcoming investigations will be there. Any speaking engagements that we have will be on there as well. So we really appreciate the support.
Yeah. And you said this earlier, and this is one of the reasons I respect you and Miranda, is that you want to tell people your story and share your experiences, but you're not doing it for likes and followers.
No.
I mean, I mean, my ego sometimes, like last week we had 3 people watch. I'm like, God, what am I that bad? Like, I mean, but it is, I mean, I know people do the rewatch thing and all that other stuff, but it is really about sharing your experiences and your the history stories and things like that drives you. It's not I got 2,500 followers, which actually is nothing.
And that you're right. To your point, Miranda and I are both very cautious of that and conscious of that. It's like I've been asked numerous times why I don't monetize our YouTube channel. And I feel that if you monetize the YouTube channel, then people can say, well, you're just putting this evidence out there to get more money. And that's not what we're doing at all. I feel that keeping that YouTube channel non-monetized really kind of legitimizes the fact that we're not doing this to get likes and follows. We're putting it out there for the historical content because, I really do feel that we have some very interesting stories to tell. The Ma Barker story, right? If you didn't know about that, and the interesting thing is, when we put that video out, I've heard about the story all my life, but when we put that video out, we were getting calls from newspapers, from radio shows, for people in the community saying, I never knew that happened. In 1935, for 6 months, the national spotlight was on this little one-horse town in Central Florida, and nobody knows that story now. And it to me, it was baffling, but also it's like I was very, proud of the fact that we could put this story out there and get some recognition for the house. And so that is what our driving factor is, to your point.
And my friend Harold, and this is another video that we're going to eventually work on someday, is, he got a hit on, so we talked to an author that Sylvania, Ohio, which is a suburb of Toledo, was the site of the first, there was a murder there that happened that was nasty, but the guy was hanged he was the first serial killer in Ohio hung for murder.
Wow, okay.
And it was, and all this story happened in Sylvania, Ohio, and not too many people know about it, but now, this lady from the Historical Society came out with a book about it. And it's all the real newspaper articles and the court documents and all this other stuff. Now people know about that story, and it's interesting. And it was like, like you said, for 6 months, there was this little town in Florida that, everybody was talking about. It was the same way in Sylvania back in, what was it, 1857? Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just personally, and I never came across all of these odd historical stories until I got involved with the paranormal stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always had that fascination with history and the love of history. Yes. I mean, my parents we would go on trips all the time to different little sites and stuff like that. So that has always fascinated me but to be able to share that with a larger audience, to me, I feel really blessed to be able to do that. And like I said, the Ma Barker one for me, because that's in my backyard, my hometown, it was really thrilling for me to be able to share that historical perspective.
Yeah. One thing I wish I would have done, say 20 or 30 years ago, I wish I would have had a video camera and the knowledge to go talk to World War II vets. I don't even know if I'm going to do anything with this ever, but tell me your story. And that's, because I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stories about World War II, but like that generation's almost gone, there's very few left.
Yeah, and to that point, what's really interesting is, and this is through the Smithsonian, and we did it with my Nana before she passed, and I'm so glad that we did. But I can't remember right offhand what the program is called, but essentially,
Is it on NPR?
Well, you email the Smithsonian, and they send you a voice recorder, and you sit down and you talk with somebody from World War II. You talk with whoever you want, right?
Yep.
And so you record that and you send it to the Smithsonian, and they categorize it, and you can find that audio, and it's preserved. So we were talking to my Nana about the Great Depression, about because my granddaddy was in World War II, talking about his service in World War II, and that was all. It's story time or storybook or story something. It's through the Smithsonian, and you send that all, and it's categorized there, and it's preserved there.
And I think they have part of that show where they take some of those and put them on a show that's on NPR.
Okay,
because there was a guy on a radio show that I was listening to the other day that's the exact thing he was describing.
Okay,
was it's just they're just gathering people's stories about
storyboard
whatever.
or something like that.
Yeah, yep. And it was, and I do wish like I would have talked to my grandparents more about the war, the Depression. I mean, I know, God, you didn't dare throw a bite of food away. Because of the Depression, we got that lecture 1,000 times, but
you don't throw anything away. Don't throw a board away or anything.
Nope. And you had to have bread and butter with every meal, and they ate large sandwiches, and they loved to tell us about it. It was crazy. So anyway, it was good talk. It's 1:10. We try and keep it to about an hour. So I appreciate having you on.
Was fun.
If there's anything else that you want to promote before we take off, the floor is yours.
Well, no, just the historic Scott County Jail in Huntsville, Tennessee, as well as Soul Sisters Paranormal. And I just want to thank everybody who's watched tonight. We really do appreciate the support. We do have a very awesome group of friends through the paranormal. And, every time Miranda and I do a podcast, they're there supporting us and being our champions and cheerleaders. So thank you, everybody who joined tonight, asking your questions and your comments. So we really do appreciate it.
Yep. And you know what? I think I'm going to let you close the show with that because that was way more eloquent than what I normally do. So. Again, everybody, thanks for joining, and we will see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.